Hello, hello and welcome to the panel devoted to productivity. Productivity, a huge word that kind of rules over our lives, our core value in our business lives and everyday lives. So I would like to present people who know a lot about productivity and people that might know something about productivity. On my left, there is Dona Sarkar. Did I pronounce that right? Dona Sarkar is Chief Troublemaker at Microsoft Copilot and AI 8 Microsoft. That's what it says. Okay.
It must be true.
It must be true if it says on the paper.
I think Copilot made that up.
Okay. Jelena Grigorjevic, music academic worker.
Mm-hmm.
And Lazar Jamic, lecturer and creative strategist. This is very poor introduction, so I would really love if you could actually say a few words about yourself, so just that the room knows what they're dealing with. So please.
Do you want to start, Dona?
So from my end, no problem whatsoever. So Lazar Jamic,
Think about it.
former creative strategist and brand strategist as well. Former head of brand strategy for Google's creative think tank, The Zoo at the time, how it was called, it doesn't exist anymore, for Western Europe. And then from 2016, lecturer teaching at 4 executive MBA programs across Europe and 3 postgraduate programs in 3 different universities, again, across Europe.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'm going to introduce myself as an imposter, actually. I am, as Marko said, I am a music scholar, but already in academia, people very often feel like imposters and they just think that they lack knowledge, and it's just a matter of time when they're going to get busted and they are going to be revealed as cheaters, right? But in this context, in the context of this conference, and especially this panel discussion, I'm definitely imposter because I'm a pseudo-expert on productivity. So productivity is not something that I'm doing research on, but because I've been doing research on many things and I've been equipped to critically ponder our social realities, I thought, why not to join in?
Yeah.
You're not an imposter at all. Yeah. Anytime you're in academia, you're the opposite, or academia or music, you're not an imposter. I'm Dona. I go around the world causing trouble for people like you. I generally introduce new concepts and make them hopefully simpler to understand than Microsoft does. But I think more interestingly, and maybe this is what we will talk about, is that I believe we are way more than our day job, way more than the label that our day job has given us, because we probably chose our day job when we're, 18, 19 years old, and now we have to carry that burden for the next 40, 50, 60, 80 years. That's not fun, right? So outside of work, I do run a fashion company called Prima Donna Studios. I do make all my own clothes because I'm a stress sewer. So the more stressed I am, the more I sew. You can tell that I am very stressed these days. Okay. Second thing, I own a wine bar called Side Hustle, because it's my side hustle. And I have a wine bar because see first point. If you're going to drink profitably. Yes. And the third one is I'm an aspiring perfumer because I love fragrances and I also love chemistry, and I'm trying not to blow up my house currently in Essex.
So the first question to all of you is, what is productivity? The thing is, when I think about productivity, I always think back to washing machines. So the invention of the washing machine enabled women to not spend 3 hours washing clothes by the river and to actually use those 3 hours to do something else. However, if you look at women today, well, women in this case, because traditionally it was women who were washing clothes, those 3 hours have vanished. So those 3 hours that the washing machine gave us don't exist anymore in 24-hour schedule. So in this complex reality of productivity, where you gain some time on one hand and actually fill it with something else on the other, so how could we approach this theme of productivity? So what does it mean to you personally? Do we go, patriarchy?
There's a pattern. Yeah, okay.
There's a pattern.
I think, because I live in London for many years now, and they're really, really struggling to explain to themselves why is British productivity so bad. Nobody knows what productivity is, because they measure it in so many different ways and they still can't find the reasons actually what is. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons. But I guess when you kind of go and start reading what productivity could mean, probably is focused on, in my mind, at least one word, which is efficiency. And we can define efficiency kind of so many different ways, right? How can I get the same input, so the same output with less input? Can I get a bigger output with the same input? Or ideally in business today, can I have bigger output with less input? And usually kind of it boils down to that. And that's, for me, one part of the story, efficiency. There's another part we call effectiveness that we usually do not talk about very often when we talk about productivity. And I guess that everybody's going to have their own way to define it.
Yes, I'm going to just follow up on this. I think there is some sort of, I call it fallacy, productivity fallacy, the way we frame productivity. Exactly. It's more in terms of efficiency. It's more about getting most things done. And this is also what Microsoft also wants us to do. So to do more with less, right? But actually, the question should be maybe about getting the right things done. So efficiency definitely cannot be equated with quality of work we perform or creativity or our engagement with work. So it is a little bit problematic framework, let's say. But I wanted also to follow up on what you said about the washing machine. I think with this product, the time was really created to do something else. And now we can, of course, argue if the time was used to, for example, educate yourself, to read more books, or maybe these women, because usually women did the laundry, right? They were enslaved by other chores or other type of labor, exploited in the other kind of company or whatever, any kind of job. But I think AI or digital technologies is much more complicated because it's designed in a way to trick us. So, for example, if you are, let's say, efficient more with AI technologies, maybe it frees up our time, but it's designed in a way to create new ways to consume it mindlessly. So this is called AI time paradox. So this technology is, so it's very problematic, let's say. If we say that it frees us our time, that we are going to use it creatively. Maybe some people are, but I think majority will just binge more or be drawn to other forms of digital consumption.
Okay, Dona?
I agree with both of you. I agree with both of you. I totally agree with both of you. I like that definition of the effectiveness and all of these things. And I agree with the AI trap. I actually use my newfound hours to doom scroll more. And I'm very happy about it, by the way. It's not bad doom scrolling. For me, productivity means Tetris. You are constantly juggling the latest fire drill around to see where it'll fit so you can move on to the next issue that you have to deal with, right? That is productivity. Tetris taught us to be productive and really stressed. That is what Tetris trained us to do in this life. And we have learned that life is an endless Tetris game. It does not freaking stop, right? And the thing that worked 1 second ago is not going to work again. So given that all of us have played Tetris at some point or another, probably, we all automatically kind of know how to be more productive. We know how to fit this one thing over here and how to take this out, move it over here to fit this other thing over here. We intrinsically just know how to do that. And one of the things that I think we're falling into as a trap is trying to measure things in productivity cycles. Because we don't actually want to be more productive. Everyone says they want to be more productive, but we don't want to be more productive. We want things to be easier. We want things to get done simpler. We want to put less effort into things that aren't worth so much effort. So I actually think we need to come up with new definitions of what we're trying to do. Like, boost productivity, most productive person in the world. I was in an article, it was the top most productive people in the world. And I'm like, this is a horrifying definition. Because I actually don't think that's a healthy thing. Like, if you meet someone who's incredibly productive, they're probably very stressed, very burned out, and they're always teetering on the edge of losing Tetris.
And not only that, can I just add something? There is also this kind of, it's called the 90-10 fallacy of high productivity, because we are taught if we do more, we will achieve more if we do more.
I thought it was dinosaurs. I'm like,
sound check.
Yeah,
Drum.
this is how the raptors, like in Jurassic Park, start shaking. I'm like, Oh my
But
God.
actually, this is not true. This is my heartbeat because I'm very nervous. Okay, can I continue? So we are.
Go on.
Your pie.
No, I'm talking. I'm actually quite fine.
Yeah. So now you're clammy. She has clammy hands.
Yes. Okay. So we are usually taught, or we are, we believe, we are made to believe that if we do more, we will achieve more. But this is this 90-10 fallacy of high productivity. So basically, that means that we maybe, as you said, we do a lot of things, but they are maybe not meaningful things. And these 10% of things that we are supposed to do that are actually meaningful, that where we can tackle issue from maybe different perspective, or maybe focus on getting deeper into the problem, that usually get postponed or something. So fallacy is there.
Maybe it's also an issue of quantity versus the quality. So of course you get more gets done, but in what way? So do we have a better product, or do we just have more of the same product? So again, this is one of the aspects of this. I mean, now that you were mentioning all these different angles to approach, in my mind, I kind of broke down into 4 categories. Of course, the first one is economic category, so do more with less. The second one is management. So can we streamline the workflow that, like we don't lose time, or we don't have like these bottlenecks in our production. But then we also get to the psychological level, which is motivation, procrastination, incubation periods that need some time to actually happen. And of course, the neurology aspect, which is how much attention we can actually devote to something. Because the problem, in the way I see it, is that, of course, we do not have infinite growth. It's impossible. We only have 24 hours. So how would you describe, I mean, in your opinion, where does this productivity streamlining go? So how far can we push it? So right now, AI is helping us with a lot of tasks that, I don't know, I'm usually sorting alphabet names, alphabetically. I just put it into ChatGPT and I get the result in matter of seconds, whereas I used to kind of do 15 minutes of that. But where do we go from here? So let's now turn the circle around, so it's not always the patriarchy that starts. So you want to jump?
Yeah, because
just see,
You seem real nervous.
no, that's not nervous. That's eager.
Eager. Okay. So should we leave the word to the eager girl? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you know why I wanted to jump in? Because we talked about productivity fallacy, right? So when I say productivity fallacy, by that I mean the wrong assumptions or beliefs we have about what is behind productivity. And you ask where we are going with that. What is the ultimate destination? We actually never ask that question. So let's just assume accumulation of the wealth. Let's say we want to be more productive so that we can contribute to the gross domestic product, right? But then this gross domestic product is not, it's a false metric of real prosperity and well-being. So it doesn't reflect reality. When we have like a growth in GDP, usually a very, very minority is getting super rich, and all their assets, all the assets they have, this shows in the growth in GDP. Majority is actually suffering, right? And then also, there is never the questions whether we should produce things we produce, how we are producing things we produce, and to what end, exactly. At what cost as well. Let's talk about the repercussions for biodiversity or the collapse of ecosystems, or what about the growing gap between the rich and the poor, not only across the globe, but also within individual countries, and inequalities in general.
Thank you. It was a very good segue. I think it's very difficult kind of to avoid ideology when we talk about this, because again, if you go back to probably why this whole debate started, we hear about productivity all the time in the media. Usually the economists and the politicians talk about that they need to increase the productivity in the country. The economists talk about increasing productivity in particular businesses, particular companies. And the companies then think about productivity, but they usually tend to think about productivity from the profit and revenue and growth point of view. Well, let's be honest, right? So we have to be honest. You want to talk about. So it's very difficult to avoid kind of eventually moving to the ideological space if you want to talk about it. But actually, what Donna said actually really resonated with me, because there has to be a human aspect to it. And I think that it's really worth pursuing kind of the thinking to the end. If you kind of start thinking about different scenarios, going back to your question, what could it mean for the future? What could that really mean for the future? So if you think, what's the biggest cost in a company at the moment? Most of the companies.
People.
So to be more productive, theoretically speaking, what would be the best solution? To get rid of the people, which is basically what the car manufacturers have done largely by introducing robots. Suddenly they became hugely productive, right? So, you know what I mean? It's very difficult to avoid the ideological question, what kind of society do we want to live in, if you want to pursue just the productivity from this particular angle and what you were referring to the end. So I think that we are now struggling, that's my personal opinion and feeling, we are struggling ideologically. Because on one hand, we've got a system, call it whatever you want, the system, the world that we live in, which is largely driven by big companies that are actually focusing on profit and revenue and growth. And on the other side, you've got lots of people in those companies. Technology can help unlock productivity, but maybe not good for people all the time. Not all of the scenarios are good for people in that story. And is it possible to match the two? And can AI, for example, and other advanced technologies, not just AI, help us merge and match somehow these two sides? Well, it remains to be seen. It's either that AI may replace all of us, but then we need a universal income. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to consume, which means the consumer economy is going to crash. Or we're going to go into slavery, because the ideal business model is not to pay people at all, but they have to work. So that's what I'm saying. Let's play mind games, because if you kind of try to push some of that thinking really to the final logical consequences, you kind of start going into some really crazy shit scenarios. And I would like kind of to bring it back then to the company. So if you're thinking about and what to do in a particular company, okay, we can play with that to a certain extent. We can certainly introduce technologies that can increase productivity measured in various ways, which usually means that I, in my own time as a unit of production, as a person, can produce more value for the company in a given period of time. Or maybe I can put more time into it, plus technology, and that will give even more revenue or even more return on investment for the company, or maybe something else. But without, in a way, for me at least, and sorry, I'm being a bit bleak here, but I've been on both sides of the story, without really sitting and thinking about ideologically, what's the ideological framework that we deploy to think about productivity? I think it's going to be quite difficult to get to a good answer.
So what do we actually do with the extra hours that we
Can I vote for vacation?
It's okay.
Does anyone else vote for vacation with the extra hours? Okay, thank you. You know what I don't vote for? New work. I don't vote for new work. Who votes for new work?
But that's why you're having 4 businesses, right?
Yes, because my other businesses are fun. They're there to right. It de-stresses, right? I think we've done ourselves a bad disservice. Okay, a bad disservice. So let's talk about this. How many of you know what grading on a curve means? Okay, so maybe one person knows. It might be a cultural thing. So in universities in the US and many places, the scale of what grade you get is not set at 100% is good and then like 80% is bad, whatever. It's whoever gets the highest score, that is considered 100%. So say the highest score is 80. That's considered an A. And then you grade down from there. So a 70 would be a B, a 60 would be a blah. Now, I hate grading on a curve situations because there's going to be some dork who's going to get 100 and they're going to ruin everything. Okay, so the key is to drive them out of class, right? The key is to get rid of this person because you don't want to be graded on a curve. So I am that girl. I'm like, which nerd is asking too many questions? We got to get rid of them immediately because they're going to mess up the curve. What you want is the curve to start at like 50%. So you could do 50% less work and still get a C versus having to work that much, right? We have done ourselves a horrible disservice in this world by hiring extremely productive people and making them more productive with productivity tools. And now they've set the bar over here, just like the factory, right? The bar is set here. This person could put a windshield on every 2 seconds. How come you can't put a windshield on every 2 seconds? And this is the issue, because we're in this like race to zero, arms race, whatever you want to call it, to be the most productive human on the planet, because we keep rewarding that behavior versus the sustainable behavior of what's going to last the test of time while not burning out humans, right? So we have done ourselves a bad disservice, and nothing did this disservice worse than the pandemic. When we said, now you can, in fact, work 24 hours a day while doing your housework. Now I could throw my laundry in the machine and go attend to calls. I would rather wash clothes by hand for 3 hours than be on calls. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Rather than go be on Teams calls for 3 hours while my laundry is doing. No, I don't think more productivity is a good thing. I agree with you.
Can I just follow up on this? Because when you talk about ideology of productivity, I think it runs much deeper. And I would like to add 2 aspects to it. So one is that work has been elevated to the meaning of life. This is one aspect. The other aspect is that we are engulfed in a highly materialistic, money-driven culture, right? So let's put these together. So I argue work has hijacked, let's say, many spheres of life, and it has positioned itself as one of the most, if the most important thing in life. So what religion used to do once, now work is doing. So we expect from work to have a sense of belonging, to have a sense of community, to have a sense of purpose, meaning. So this is one way of looking at it. Now, because of this money-driven, profit-making culture, then our sense of success and worth tightly close to or connect to how hard we work and how much we are paid for it. So basically, working hard means being very productive, being very successful, and not, even if you work hard in some not socially valued, highly valued fields, but in certain fields, then it's also, you have material rewards. So to wrap it up, productivity has become accepted normal value, and it has become a measure of human dignity. So I want to say that it's not only about output, input efficiency. I think it runs much deeper. It's about how we conceptualize work itself.
Yeah, it's a lovely thought that you've given me, actually, that maybe there are other ways to think about productivity slightly broader than just kind of the finance input-output ratios, and they actually results in some sort of a financial value for the company, which is talking about reminded me that in some situations we may have objectively low productive people in countries and in companies for various other reasons, social reasons, historical reasons, and resource reasons, and various other things. So actually, maybe it's not kind of either or in a way that we just dismiss it as being wrong. In certain circumstances, maybe it's good to think about and say, maybe you realize that our people are not realizing their full potential on a personal level within a company or within a country. And for me, that is kind of another maybe psychological side of productivity. How can we make people feeling better for themselves, but also realizing their potentials in a way that's a sort of a productivity rise, right? But not measured in the stock market way. It's measured on a more human way. Countries in our region, we know some of the countries in our region that actually historically been really lagging behind the developed world. It's meaningful for me to talk about productivity in those countries because it would really raise the standard of life in those countries, which means kind of how can we do things in a cleverer way could also be one of the definitions of productivity. Maybe not just the efficiency, so I'm slightly not correcting but adding to what I said, but maybe how can we be more clever in how we do things. And I was always reminded, if you go to situations of quite extreme poverty and extreme situations, there's a concept in innovation called jugaad. The frugal innovation is kind of another way. Jugaad is a Hindu name. How can we create value or something in circumstances of very, very low resources? So you don't have money, you don't have people, you don't have anything. How can you do something with it? And I was always reminded, there's a whole kind of movement now. It became an academic discipline. Stanford, MIT, many kind of others have a specialization in that. Making, for example, baby incubator for $100 instead of $10,000. It's possible, they did it. It's like a thermos flask, basically like a thermos blanket. So they did make it. So how can we create things in a more clever way without spending a lot of money and playing with very, very little resources? It could be maybe another way to define productivity.
Just to add, there is actually a person who invented the concept of slow productivity and tried to implement it in the working environment. And slow productivity means investing more into the skill development of the employees and making sure that they are very, very happy at workplace, rather than being obsessed with productivity or some efficiency or reaching some target.
That's what I'm saying about ideology. Somehow we kind of either touch or hit that block very, very quickly. Even if the company means well, very often the company is going, particularly if it's a big public state shareholder-owned company, it's very likely that it's going to be judged on the stock market. And it's very likely that productivity is going to be part of that kind of set of KPIs they're going to be judged by. So it's kind of probably difficult for them to avoid that.
Actually, we have a couple of paradigm problems that needs to be shifted. So basically, the first one is productivity based on industrial standards, which is more products is better. So this is like the first concept. Then it's attitude towards work. So we need to kind of reframe our current attitude towards work, and I mean as a society, not as an individual. And on the third level, with this upcoming AI revolution, that is, I mean, still at its beginning, we have no idea what's coming up. So basically, we are in a state of flux right now, where we cannot work the way we used to, because the hidden costs of productivity is burnout. So people are burning.
Burnout.
Sorry?
There are many more hidden.
Sure. I mean, we can go there, but the thing is, we need to kind of. But I would really like to go into the future just a little bit, just to kind of see where we are going with this. Because the thing is, what we kind of now saw is that the productivity has so many layers. It's not just more for less, that it kind of actually envelops all of our being as social animals. So of course work is one of basic rights and basic needs for humans. So where do you see this going?
Okay, so we have to redefine productivity because we have a new problem, which is as we use AI to do jobs, some people will think that's good and some people will think that's bad. Okay, so I'll give you a real example. I was at a conference last week, my own conference, my dev conference. There's 2 sessions that were at the same time. Both speakers are known to be very good. One speaker prepped their session a month in advance. They had 6 different rehearsals, and they were going to show up and present on topic A. Second speaker, very busy. They prepped their slides maybe 15 minutes before using Copilot. They did not do a rehearsal with any people. And then they showed up on topic B. Given that, say you're interested in both topics, which one would you go to? Everyone would go to topic A because you think it's going to be better. Why? Because they put in more time? Because they put in more effort? Because you have more points of view? Maybe. We had this situation. Topic B was so much better. It was exponentially better. Topic A was such crap because it was the voices of the masses. And they took so much feedback from so many people, lost their point of view. Just because you practice a lot doesn't make it good. Just because you research a lot doesn't make it good. Topic B was so to the point. This is the topic. This is my point of view. Here's the evidence. Delivering it, clear format. Their slides will look extremely terrible because they're made with PowerPoint Copilot, to be clear. But they spent no time and no money and delivered a much higher content thing. We don't know what to do with that information. Their speaker scores were off the charts. Now what? Right? Now what? Do you reward this person? I say yes. Some people are like, no, what they didn't, it's not fair. I'm like, it's not fair. It's not fair. Okay. So we equate fairness with labor, right? And is that going to work in the AI verse? It ain't going to work. It's not going to work because we're pushing out tools telling people, oh, cut the time in half. But are we going to penalize them for it? Does this mean, okay, cut the time in half, but you have to do more work? It can't just be do the same work. You need to suddenly do more work. Okay? We have to do more work. How much more work? How much time can we cut in half? We're guess what we're doing? Grading on a curve, right? We're being that 100% performer versus doing all the things we're supposed to be doing as humans. Life is supposed to get easier, not harder. We're making it harder for ourselves by continuing to value like running on the hamster wheel, right? Which is we're still saying we need to run more on the hamster wheel and produce more versus you run less on the hamster wheel, producing. Now, my team and I, we have a system, and feel free to copy this, but do not tell anyone you're doing it. Okay, it's extremely important you don't tell people. We don't work on Mondays. We don't tell anyone we don't work on Mondays. Just block our calendar. We're like, we don't work Mondays. We just don't. We don't want to start Monday with a bunch of nonsense meetings, blah, 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 blah. You'll never hear from me on a Monday. You just won't. And I've made my whole team do this. All of our partners know they'll hear from us on Tuesday. Now, this has made life way better for lots and lots of people. They're like, oh my God, I get to start my week not being completely behind. They still work on Mondays, right? We catch up on stuff, etc. We just don't do the endless 10 hours of meetings back. The key was not telling anyone. Who thinks we're equally as productive and get the same amount done by Friday? Same. We've A/B tested this now. I've tested it on 3 teams. Teams always think I'm insane, by the way, when I introduce this. They're like, we're all going to get fired. I'm like, no, you won't. Trust me. Exact same work. Exact same output. 1/5 less effort.
Okay.
That's pretty good. So I challenge you all to stop doing something. Stop doing something and see what happens. I call this the vacation principle. My principles are not like theoretical, like they're not published things. These are like Dona principles, okay? But it's worked because I've tried it on humans a lot. Now, the vacation principle. When you go on vacation, because you're in Europe, you don't do work, right? Hopefully. Isn't it illegal in many places like France? In the US, we work on vacations, but imagine you're in Europe. Okay. So when you go on vacation, you don't do your job. When you come back, there's usually 3 categories of things, right? One category, no one did it. Everyone is screaming, and you better attend to those right now because those are the fire drills, right? We know that category very, very well. Second category, no one did them. Someone else went and picked it up for you. Good. Why are you doing it? Make them do it. Third one, no one did it. No one noticed. Why are you doing that third one? Why are we doing that third one? We're not getting any credit for it. No one cares. No one noticed. So I have a policy when I go on vacation or my team goes on vacation. I'm like, we're doing the vacation principle. You're going to come back and you're going to make a list of things that no one noticed and no one cared about, and you're going to stop doing it. Because we need to create more blank space. It's the only way we're going to have more creativity and more new things versus running on the endless hamster wheel. So these are the Dona principles. Do not work on Mondays, or choose Monday of the week. Don't work. Tell no one. And notice, they're not going to notice. They're not going to notice. Trust me. I have tested this in, I think, 45 different people across 5 different organizations, one of them being a legal org. No one noticed. And it was beautiful. It doesn't need to be Monday. Sometimes we chose Wednesday. Sometimes we chose Friday. But when you do these things, you realize how much pressure we put on ourselves compared to the output that no one notices the difference in.
Well done. But we have to understand that Dona is really an exceptional human being. And maybe by cutting so much, she can achieve so more. But I wanted to just problematize a little bit. Because does easier also means necessarily better? Because there is something which is called AI obesity, overdependency, unhealthy overdependency on using AI and the digital technologies in general. So at what cost, I'm asking? So our human capacities are diminishing that way. So is it easier, always the better? But about that, because of the digital technologies, the way they are, we always have to do task switching that really interrupts our flow. We cannot, be productive enough or creative or deeply engaged with the topic. But more importantly than that, even, I would say, is that by using so much AI, for example, help, we outsource what we for so many centuries basically took pride of, and this is to think of ourselves as the authority of our decision making. So for a very long time, humans were authority for decision making, but now even research has been done, for example, among Pakistani Chinese students, that they, by using AI tools in their higher education, they are becoming more lazy, less motivated, and they are outsourcing their decision making. They cannot have capacity anymore to do decision making. And then where does this lead as well? There are theories about post-humanism. We are going to just merge with algorithms that are going to measure our biochemical processes in the brain, and they are going to compute a lot of data, and then they're going to tell us what to do, because we don't have any more authority. So what we are as humans, we have no true selves. We disintegrate as people.
We become batteries for the matrix.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. What does the future bring?
Not a lot. Really, I think Donna is much more qualified to talk about that. She's much closer to the kind of coal phase. I think she made a really, really good point. We certainly, one of the more positive scenarios that we'll be able to do more with the same time, that we've got even less time. And the technologies that are coming, particularly AI, is going to help us do that. Absolutely agree with that. There's a kind of huge potential for unlocking some of the kind of human value, human time also. My only slight worry is that the nature of the global system is such that so far, historically at least, if we look at that, the tendency was to the business sphere to basically hijack any of the surplus time that we generate for ourselves and actually turn it into a value production process for the companies. That's my value, my fear. But we'll see what's going to happen. I'm thinking that the game is sort of going in many different directions. It's going to become much sharper in the foreseeable future, as far as I can say. We're going to be moving from sweating our assets into dehydrating our assets, particularly people, and in a chase to kind of to get value. How many companies are going to do that? I don't know. I think that the clever companies are going to do what Donna was referring to, even kind of considering like the proper 4-day week, being tested very successful in the UK as well, in several companies, really fantastic results. So many scenarios are open at the moment. Which way we're going to go? I think it's going to be some sort of an interplay between how much the overall sort of business push for growth and profit is going to be pushing one way, and how much nature, human needs, and slightly different ideas of the human society are going to be pushing against that. And in those two dynamics, I feel we're going to find some sort of an answer.
Yeah, I mean...
You ask about the future.
Yes, I asked about the future. Yeah.
Yes. So I just wanted to say that I'm thinking about, because of all these issues I addressed, on the individual level, there is something which is called the digital well-being or digital resilience. So on the individual level, there are ways how to become aware of how much or how we engage with AI tools or digital technologies. If you are interested about this concept, I can go into it, but I think we don't have time. And then, of course, this is only on the individual level, and this is what neoliberal societies ask us to take responsibility as individuals. So you're right. In order to have a good scenario of where this is all going, we have to radically change the economic and social systems. And there is actually a way to do it, because there are scholars who are proponents of the growth economic model. But this topic is not even, it's not even part of mainstream corporate media. So it's invisible for many people. So there are ways, but people don't talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the easiest thing is to actually put people in charge of themselves and then blame them for not being well. So...
Okay, can I tell you all the cheetah thing? Okay, you're going to love this. This will be great. How many of you know how cheetahs operate? Anyone? Is anyone familiar with cheetahs in general? Like the animals? We've got one taker. Okay, cool. All right. So cheetahs are my role model, like the animal. I don't mean like it's not like some technical AI model. It's like a real animal. Okay, cheetahs. So here's what cheetahs do. They are the best, because you all want to be like cheetahs. What they do is they're hanging out. They see the prey. They go chase the prey. They kill the prey. They eat the prey. Then they do nothing for 5 days. They do abject nothing. They go lay under a tree and sleep for 5 days straight. They're like, cool, I'm totally good. And then in a week, 5 days later, they wake up, I'm hungry. They see the prey. They chase the prey. They kill the prey. Do you know how chill cheetahs are? They have the best lives. Plus, you see them, you've never seen a stressed cheetah. You're like, you know what? You have it figured out, cheetah. You have it figured out. They're not worried about prides or like, who's the king of the pride? Let me kill off this king, that king, lion king. The reason cheetahs don't get their own movie, it's not that interesting. But that's okay. That's okay. Because imagine if we could live like this, where we have a burst of productivity and then we go chill out for many days. Don't you think we'd have better ideas? How many of you get your best ideas while you're in Teams meetings, back to back, trying to answer emails from the last Teams meeting? Anyone? Anyone? Or how many of you get a great idea and you're in the middle of a meeting and you forget the idea immediately? Yeah, right? Why? Because we don't give ourselves the cheetah space. We don't. And curing cancer, solving climate change are not going to happen in Teams meetings, guys. They're just not going to happen. So we as leaders have to create opportunities for blank space for people to get that thinking, processing time. We process the universe constantly, right? We're human models. We process everything. Our training data is the world around us. We process it. Take that time to go create more dots. Before we can connect the dots, you need to collect the dots. Collecting dots doesn't happen in Teams meeting. They happen by experiencing life. They experience by going out and talking to many, many different kinds of people. So businesses who are not making space for their employees to go and collect more dots are never going to connect more dots. More input is going to lead to better outcomes. And just being on the hamster wheel, trying to jam in more work as possible, it's just not going to work. So I truly believe those of us who are leaders, whether you're a manager or a leader of people, we have to encourage people to create that blank space in their lives. And sometimes we have to force it on them for the workaholics and say, this is your responsibility. To be more productive, you need to do less.
And with that, I would, because we need to let you go a bit earlier, I would open the floor to questions. So we have 3 outstanding guests here with their views. So if you have any questions regarding productivity or thoughts that you might have had during this time, please. I mean, come on, not everybody's...
No, now they're thinking about happy hour because I said the cheetah thing.
Yeah.
They were like, wait, why am I learning about productivity? I should be having happy hour. And talking amongst ourselves. The most useful thing you could do at this conference, folks, is talk amongst yourselves. Stop learning stuff. You already know everything. You know everything you need to know. Come on, it's day 2. It's day 2. You learned everything. You're good. The rest of the conference should be go make friends. Like attend the talks tomorrow, but do it to make friends. Do it to make friends. Our brains are saturated with information. Make more friends. I truly believe we would all be happier if we made more friends.
I tip for that.
Okay. Now I'm going to dismiss everyone to happy hour. Cheers.
Sure. Thank you.